Susan from Is it on? Yeah, it's on. I can hear. She said you got to lean into it and talk though. So my name is, damn, that's weird feedback. Jason Kenichi with Kenichi Engineering and Surveying. I have Christina Shirley. She's an engineer with us as well. We're going to talk about two items today, the MS4 permit and also the CRS community rating system and some of the activities that we are a part of to maintain our flood insurance rating and our CRS rating. I'll start off with two things. Sign-in sheet is up front. I think everybody signed in. If you haven't, please do so before you leave so we can prove that we had people at this workshop. And the second thing, I don't think this will be an issue with anybody here, but this is not a drainage issue workshop. We're going to focus on the MS4 system and the CRS rating system. So if we have other drainage-related questions, we can take those at a later date. So we've got a slideshow. I have a couple of handouts up front with the slides if anybody wants to take those with you. There's a letter that we'll present and some FEMA documents that we'll present. But all this information will be sent to the city, and they'll have it uploaded on their website sometime next week. Right, Mr. Riso? Sure. Okay, thank you. So, Christina, you want to come over here and start it off? You can just sit right here if you want. If that works.
All right. Sorry, the podium wasn't working
Yeah.
for us. So I'm going to talk about the MS4 program, the Municipal Separate Storm Sewer Systems, and the Stormwater Management Program that's underneath that. Regulatory background: the Federal Clean Water Act was established by the EPA in 1972 to regulate the discharge of pollutants into the waters of the U.S. Intended to keep recreational purposes, fishable, swimmable water. And under that, either the EPA for the state, either EPA mandates it or the state's DEQ. So for Mississippi, it's the DEQ, and there's the National Pollutant Discharge Elimination System permits, and that's for anyone who's discharging into water, manufacturing, commercial, mining, industrial. And under that's the municipal stormwater permit. So that allows cities, counties to discharge their stormwater runoff from their drainage systems into the water bodies. Here's a map showing the phase 1 and phase 2. Phase 1's larger, so that's only Jackson in Mississippi. Bay St. Louis falls under a phase 2 MS4, as does Hancock County. Here's the small municipal separate stormwater system permit. You might see there that it's expired in 2021, so we're operating under that permit right now until DEQ issues an updated permit. So requirements of the permit: the city has to develop a stormwater management program, and with that is specifying best management practices, or BMPs, that they will implement to protect water quality with measurable goals to try to reduce the pollutant load. And there's 6 portions of the program, which I'll go through each one of those in more detail. And then also part of the permit requirement is to submit an annual report every January to DEQ that tells them the status of their compliance with everything they said they would do, summary of what activities they did throughout the year, any proposed activities for next year, and then any changes they want to make to their stormwater management program. So the first program, minimum control measure it's called, is the public education and outreach on stormwater impacts. And so that's to educate the public and steps that are taken to reduce pollution. So this workshop is part of that. That's one of their BMPs. It's the last one out of order. But to organize a workshop every year to give information about protecting stormwater. Other things they intend to do or plan to do: stormwater educational brochures with the water bill at least once a year, a message on the website, and Facebook posts. So you can be on the lookout for those. Here's the city's website. We might need to add a few things to this for stormwater, but it's a good start. The next control measure is public involvement and participation, so to provide opportunities for the public to participate in the stormwater management plan. One of them is storm drain identification. I don't know that the city necessarily gets the public to help support or assist the county with their household hazardous waste collection event every year. Stormwater hotline, so you can make reports on their website or call Public Works. Stormwater community events, they support one cleanup event per year, and then this workshop. Here's just some pictures of the stormwater or the hazardous waste collection event, some other events that they advertise for, and then on the website where you can submit a comment or concern. Illicit discharge detection and elimination, to detect and eliminate illicit discharges and enforce regulations related to them. So we're helping the city with a stormwater mapping of the major, right now we're working on major drainage channels and culverts as we survey them, and so we're trying to update that, we say yearly, but as whenever we get information. Dry weather screening, the city's goal is to perform and track screening of at least 10 outfalls per year. Pretty sure they do way more than that. Looking at the stormwater ordinance, reviewing it for any updates that need to be made related to illicit discharges. And then the stormwater hotline where you can report illicit discharges if you see them, and then the annual workshop. Here's the start of the map that we're working on in GIS. And then examples of illicit discharges, concrete washout, paint washout, nobody should be rinsing all that stuff into the storm drain, trash, sewage, oil, and gas, so just a few. Next part of the program is a construction site stormwater runoff control. So this is to reduce the pollutants from sediment and erosion, using sediment and erosion control measures. The BMPs the city has for these are looking at the site plans for any developments in the city, making inspections of the construction sites. The goal at least once during construction, if not more. Training the staff on ordinances, policies, inspections, etc. The stormwater hotline again, so the citizens, if they see issues on a construction site, they can report it to the city. Public education, we'll have a flyer that can go out to either developers and to residents about stormwater protection from construction sites, and then having the public workshop. Here's some examples of construction site BMPs that should be on sites. Silt fence protects the sediment from leaving the site and entering storm drain or ditch. Inlet protection, same thing. Construction entrance keeps the dirt on the site and not from entering into the storm drains. Stockpile protection, so when it rains, all that dirt doesn't end up off the site. Temporary seeding, if the contractor isn't going to be doing anything for like a week or two, they should be seeding. And then any slope protection. And then post-construction stormwater management. This is to ensure that the permanent BMPs are in place and are effective. So their goals for that are to have a checklist with the developer to make sure that all their permanent BMPs that they plan for are in place. Post-construction site inspection to visually see all that is in place. An O&M agreement, this is a big one, like if there's a pond, a detention pond or retention pond, who's gonna maintain it after construction is over? Is it gonna be the developer, is it the city? And then looking at the stormwater ordinance related to these post-construction BMPs, if we need to make any changes. And then public education, same as before, is distributing the flyer and then holding the workshops. And here's some just permanent BMPs, the detention, which is a dry pond that is wet when it rains, or retention pond, which is wet all the time. Riprap, permanent vegetation, seeding or sod, rain gardens, permeable pavement, these are just examples. last part of the program is pollution prevention and good housekeeping for the municipal facilities. So this is to prevent pollutants from leaving the city sites, like the laydown yard or storage yard. So goals for that is provide annual training to city personnel, inspections at the municipal facilities, like performing at least one per year at each facility, street sweeping, goal of performing street sweeping monthly in the downtown area and then every other month in other areas of the city, and then cleaning of the storm drains, ditches, and outfalls, and inspecting them too. And we have 20 of those per year is the goal. Here's some examples of BMPs at the municipal facilities. Secondary containment to keep if there's a spill with the hazardous material or diesel or anything, it doesn't land on the ground and end up in the storm drain system. It falls into that containment area. Having spill response materials, if in the event there is a spill, you have stuff to clean it up. Storage for hazardous materials for your paint, solvents, pesticides, etc. Maintaining vehicles, making sure if there's oil leaking, it's cleaned up and doesn't end up in the storm drains. And then just maintaining clean facilities in general. And here's just some pictures of outfalls and ditches in the city. And then there's a service request that I'm sure some of you are familiar with that for cleaning that's Ronnie's in charge of. So that's it for me with the stormwater program.
Any questions on the MS4 program? I have a question for Ricky. For
He's not here right now. Would you like to take the rest of it?
Yeah. For when you issue a building permit, does that have any erosion control requirements as part of that permit? Yeah. What about like a site development permit or anything like that? A site development permit? Or like a clearing permit or?
Yeah.
Okay. Do y'all have any details that go out with that, or is it just?
No, it's just verbiage.
Yeah.
That'd be something we could.
That's something we can add.
Yeah, we could get you the standard details. At least you'll have something to give them for the silt fence installation.
I had one.
Yeah, we'll send you some examples of some typical. Okay, we can give you some standard details to put with that permit. Right. Yeah.
When we do my government online, different inspections.
Yeah, that would be one of them.
Yeah, I would think. That's where it's documented.
Maybe two
People
people
build not. But I would think it's not permanent, so we got a permit.
With going from culverts here,
What's that? Yeah. You clean it out. Culvert protection. Okay. Any other questions on MS4? All right, well, we'll proceed with the community rating system presentation. So what this is, I think we've all heard of CRS. This is associated with FEMA, the NFIP. You have a scale of 1 to 10, with 1 being the highest or the best rating. Currently, our rating in Bay St. Louis is a 7. Every year we are audited by CRS, and basically they look at elevation certificates, and to be sure that we are accepting correct elevation certificates. If not, then they have to be corrected. So this past year, I worked with Ricky and Ann on getting some elevation certificates updated. We did maintain a rating of 7. I believe the mayor is happy with that rating. He hasn't really indicated that we want to try to get to a better rating, because there's a lot of steps you got to go through to get that rating down to a 6. The thing about the rating is it's based on your flood insurance reduction. So every drop in that rating gives you a 5% decrease in the flood insurance from the NFIP. So that's the benefit. That's the benefit of having a lower rating, is in the flood insurance for the entire city is actually lower. That's how all this stuff is tied together. It's a big component of this is activity participation. So we'll go through some different activities here. A lot of it's public outreach. It's very closely related to some of the MS4 requirements, the drainage review, the stormwater review, stuff like that. But the public outreach is a big component of it. Documentation is a big component of it. We invited to this meeting today, to this workshop, we invited lenders, bankers, insurance agents, contractors. All those individuals and those industries are affected by the flood zones that we're in. So the more information that they have, the better that they can disseminate that information to some of their other colleagues. All right, so this is just an example of a letter that will go out this year, probably in one of the utility bills. I have some copies of this letter if anybody wants to take one for their information. But it just goes over different things that the city's going to do as far as implementing the CRS program. What's available at the city for documentation. We have FEMA brochures, information on flood insurance. All that is at the building department. It's also at the public libraries, and we're also going to work on getting some of that information out to those lenders and insurance agents so that they have it available as well. This slide right here shows us the CRS communities throughout Mississippi. And we are listed as a 7. Most of the communities on the coast are a 7. Biloxi's a 6. Waveland is also a 7. Harrison County is, see Harrison County?
6.
Harrison County is a 6.
So Waveland has one?
Yeah.
What
Yep.
about the county itself, Hancock County?
I don't think they're in that.
I don't think so.
They're not in the CRS program. Yep. Yeah, go to the next thing. All right, so this is a slide that talks about freeboard. Since we're in flood zones throughout most of the city, the higher, the greater the freeboard that the city requires construction to be the minimum standard, the more CRS credits we get. Right now, we're enforcing a 1-foot freeboard. This is an easy way to get a lot of CRS points, but it also comes at a price with the construction costs. So that's something that we have to evaluate to see what's most beneficial to the community. But I think Harrison County is the only city that I know that actually has a 2-foot freeboard. Pastor Shan is 2? Okay.
We have what?
1 foot.
1 foot.
Yeah. These are some other higher standards that Mississippi, or that we can, we could participate in if we wanted to. Again, it limits the development of floodplains. It limits the enclosure size, and anything that would impede or impact flow from a flood in those areas. That's what those higher standards are referencing there. Most of our flood ordinance is pretty much in line with the state minimum requirements as far as enclosure space and limitations of fill. But there are some other higher standards that we could consider if we wanted to try to get our CRS rating down a bit.
What are examples of those?
Can you zoom in on that?
local drainage protection, special hazard regulations, other higher standards, and
standards.
state mandated regulatory standards.
Yeah, the coastal A zone would be one of the easiest ones we could go to. If you look on the flood maps, there's a LMWA line, limit of moderate wave action, and the coastal A zone is the zone between the blast velocity zone and that LMWA line. And what it does is you have to build everything in that area to a V zone standard. So then you're looking at the lowest horizontal beam elevation, not just the finished floor elevation. So it forces you to build higher, more rigid structure. But that impacts a lot more of an area. So it's, you got to weigh what those construction cost increases are. Some of the floodplain use prohibitions, placement of fill. We've got hazardous materials that we want to eliminate. We also, part of that is like what we require in our ordinance for gas tanks, propane tanks and things like that. They either have to be buried or submerged or anchored down or strapped down so that they don't float away in a flood and become, something that could damage a structure. So that's something that, if we wanted to require those to be elevated, then that would be a higher standard, or we could prohibit the use of those in a floodplain as well to gain extra points. This is a document that FEMA has, and I have a couple of copies here. It'll also be on the website. It's a community rating system. It's an easy guide to talk about what the CRS program is about, what the point scale is, what all the different activities are. I think there's 14 different activities that we participate in. Some of them we participate more than others, and that way we can increase our point, accumulation. But this is a real handy booklet that kind of gives you more information about what CRS means. And this, like I said, the city will have this on our website, and we'll give some to the building department, and they can keep them in their offices as well. That's all I had. Any questions for CRS?
When you talk about points, going from a 7 to a 6, and do different things, you can add points.
Yes.
How big of a gap is it from 7 to 6 from a point perspective?
I think we need another 1,000 points to go from a 7. Yeah, it's pretty significant.
Big jump.
Yeah, it's a big jump.
Easy task.
Yeah.
Okay. I expected that answer.
Yeah, I mean, you have to develop, it's called a PPI, I can't remember what that stands for, but it's a committee that you put together that evaluates flood issues in the city. They have to meet at least annually. They give a report back to the city. That requires additional workshops. The freeboard and the coastal A zone is the easiest way to get a lot of points, but that also increases construction costs. So most of the cities, as you saw on that other slide, most of the cities on the coast are 7s, and then they're pretty happy staying at that level.
About the freeboard, I think most people do 3 feet more than a regular standard. So we'll be meeting that point anyway.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think 3 feet is the highest, from an insurance standpoint. That's about as high as they'll go to give you. Anything over that, it's not worth, they don't give you any additional reduction. I know we always recommend if we do an elevation certificate to go at least 6 inches above, that freeboard, because those elevations change, and FEMA comes out with new documentation, new datums. There's a big shift, I think, in 2012 where the elevations actually went down, so we always recommend to go at least 6 inches above what that minimum is so that the house will be protected if there's another shift.
So what I'm saying is raising the 1 foot freeboard to 2 foot, it won't be a big deal for most contractors.
It may or may not, that's right.
Speaking from the construction side. Yeah, professional.
Will cost people more. Ricky, what are you seeing when people are pulling those permits? I mean, obviously we have a contractor.
They're-
Is that consistent?
Yeah.
So they're automatic because they're
pretty
going
much-
to 3 feet because they
they're
get that
The insurance.
basically like
flood insurance discount.
Jason, they'll put on their ECs, if you're at a 20, he knows we have one for a freeboard. On that initial elevation bid, he'll put 21. By the time he builds and goes back out, it's the second
we've looked at this for some other communities, and the long-term cost from the insurance savings that you, over a 30-year period, significantly outweighs the construction cost by going up, a foot or even 2 feet. So, I mean, there's some benefit, there's some documentation and some, some science behind it. But it's still, in the past, it's been a tough sell to go to increase that freeboard.
Harrison County is 2 foot.
Too, and so is Pasture Shan. Yeah, it might be already, might cover an area that's already built out.
Yeah.
We've been trying to get the digital files from FEMA for probably 2 months. They're not, everybody we talk to, they don't know why they're not available, but they're not available. We know where the Limois line is on some of the firm maps, but it's not digital. So we started today actually tracing it in, so then we can plot it out and see exactly how much of an impact. Yeah, we wasted so much time trying to get them, we could have already done this. So it won't be as accurate. I mean, it's going to be a tracing, so we won't know exactly where that line is, but it'll give us a better idea. Yeah, we'll be able to see how much of an impact it would be if we adopted that. So
just stay close to, if there's some contours that are near there, just kind of be consistent, I would say,
yeah. So we're doing that for another community, so it would be easy to look at that for Bay St. Louis. But to build the V-zone, then that's more structural. I mean, what the city requires is, the structure to be designed and engineered by a professional, the entire structure, so there's some of those costs to consider as well.
Might want to self-promoting statement to give me more work to do that.
That's why he's advocating going up to 2 feet in the coastal A. So that's all we have. Thank y'all for coming out today. If you haven't signed in, please do so before you leave. We'll get all this information to Mike Riso to get uploaded, and we'll see you again next year.